So I would call this session our quintessential Council on Tall Buildings category of presenters. We have an architect, we have in some ways a contractor, a supplier, and obviously a specialist consultant. So I want to open it up for questions.
Hi, my name is Corey. I'm an Master of Architecture student in SAIC. And I've got a question for Sunny. And when he was showing the slides, the first thing that flashes in my mind is the metabolism movement, archigram, Cedric Prize in the 1960s. I was wondering, is your practice, your project, taken any reference to this 60s architectural movements? And if yes, how would you see that the 60s movements didn't make it, and you can make this T30 project quite successful using the same kind of logic in building?
Okay, it's like a history question. But frankly speaking, yeah, I know little about what happened in 1960. But here's my thing is, prefab technology is not new. And it can date back at least 1 century. The Empire Building in New York City is somehow prefabricated 80 years ago. So for Broad, we are trying to emphasize it's a factory made, it's sustainable designed, and also we try to use architecture to change the people's lifestyle, such as the Sky City project. We try to put a whole city in a single building. So it's a kind of revolutionary to current zoned community. We call it the inclusive community, which means it's a coincidence corresponding to the mixed-use development at the moment, which is a community which have self-serving without need to go to somewhere else for anything. So I'm not sure my answer is you are pleased or not. Okay, thank you.
My name is Richard. I'm an architect here in Chicago. And I guess with the T30 tower, not as a critical observation, but your project was developed coming from the air conditioning technology point of view. And so I am interested in kind of housing and sustainability and passive systems. Does your project incorporate operable windows, and are you looking for ways of integrating kind of passive systems into the building?
The passive building is kind of the definitions in European countries, and especially in the environmental conscious Germany. And the core value for passive building is keep the lowest impact on the environment, and the building itself can meet his needs. But for Broad, yes, we take advantage of the HVAC manufacturer. So we know the majority of the energy consuming is related with the HVAC system and also the building itself. So that's why we try to use the building insulation. The standard is much higher than local code, building codes. And also we use the floor pan, the windows. But for the windows, I can tell you it's a fixed window, it's not portable, but it can be option to choose any decoration on the size of the window. But for the built-up building, it's fixed. Yeah. Yes, you're right. We are trying to realize by construction factory-made building to minimize the humanity's influence to the environmental and lower the CO2 emission reduction. And also we want to minimize the building itself depends on the road and the vehicles. So also it's the way of changing people's life. Thank you.
Actually, I just want to, I stayed in the hotel when I was there, and I have to say that one of the frustrating parts was not being able to open up the window. However, I think this 4-layer system, I mean, it was perfectly quiet. I mean, I could hear my ears ringing all night. Perfectly quiet. The air temperature was a little bit too warm for my Scandinavian blood, but it was, I think one of the responses is with the air quality. I think part of the core business of not only the absorption chillers, but also air purifiers. If you've been to China, you know what I'm talking about. I think that was one of the responses, and I think that's one of the challenges with the moving forward. I think there needs to be a little bit more flexibility there. So let's take one more question.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Baer. I make television programs about architecture for public television. And this is a question for Johannes. This is something I've never studied or researched at all, which is this issue of rope. But vis-a-vis these very super tall buildings where it becomes incredibly inefficient to have these enormous, distances of rope, is your company or your industry in any way thinking about eliminating rope entirely? In other words, making elevators vehicles that just go vertically up and down, self-propelled, without any rope at all? And if not, what's the engineering there? Why isn't that possible?
Okay, that's a very good question. Yes, indeed, that is what we are all looking for, to eliminate the rope altogether. But at this very moment, that's also an extremely inefficient ecological methodology of going up. We don't have the counterweight, which at that moment immediately increases energy consumption quite dramatically, because we don't have that counterweight there. If we want counterweights, we need ropes. If we want to go higher and higher, yes, in the long run, we are looking at eliminating the ropes. There are many, many reasons why we can't do that at this very moment, but we're looking at technologies that can do it. One of the things is safety, because you need to do it at extreme speeds. When you really want to go high, you have to have high speed. Now, if you just think about going up, you have gravity downwards. You also have the friction against you. So whenever you have a power brake, you're actually going to stop that car with more than 1 G. And if you are not extremely quick putting power into the system, that passenger inside the car actually took off to the roof and broke his neck. So that's an extremely dangerous situation, and we can't afford a single fatality in this industry. So we have to find ways of being able to get power immediately at 100% precision rate. And that's one of the reasons why we believe this technology will come, but it will take a couple of years still before it is finally there. It might even take up to 40 years still. Yeah, but we're all looking at it. It is definitely the idea for the future.
Great. Well, thank you, speakers. Let's give them a round of applause.